Number 18. How improvisation changed the dialogue. The final cut of this film contains a level of profanity that shocked audiences and critics alike upon release. What most people don't realize is that a significant portion of that raw, unfiltered language wasn't written into the original screenplay. It emerged organically during filming, through the controlled improvisation Scorsese actively encouraged on set throughout the entire production. When actors were given freedom to play within structured scenes, their instinct was to lean into the coarse, unfiltered language of the world they were portraying. The characters they inhabited wouldn't speak in polished sentences. They'd interrupt, repeat themselves, and punctuate nearly every thought with profanity. That natural linguistic shift pushed the dialogue far beyond what was originally scripted, resulting in a word count for strong language that reportedly ranks among the highest in mainstream cinema history. The sheer volume surprised even the filmmakers themselves when they reviewed the assembled footage. The key distinction is that this wasn't recklessness, it was realism achieved through performance rather than writing. Pileggi and Scorsese's screenplay provided the architecture, but the actors filled those rooms with the kind of language that real people in that environment would actually use without thinking twice. The result feels less like a movie and more like an intercepted conversation, raw, unpolished, and entirely convincing. That authenticity of speech is one of the film's most defining characteristics, and it came not from a deliberate decision to be shocking, but from trusting performers to inhabit their roles so completely that the words took care of themselves in ways no screenplay could have fully anticipated. Number 22. A mistake that made the final cut. Not every memorable moment in cinema is planned. During the filming of a key scene, an actor stumbled unexpectedly, a genuine physical mistake that had absolutely nothing to do with the script, the blocking, or any directorial instruction. Rather than calling for another take, Scorsese recognized something valuable in the accident and kept the cameras rolling to see what would unfold. The stumble added an unscripted moment of vulnerability that no amount of choreography could have produced. It briefly broke the character's composure in a way that felt deeply human, a flash of imperfection in an otherwise tightly controlled performance. In a film built on projecting power and confidence, that fleeting crack in the armor revealed something audiences connect with instinctively, even if they can't pinpoint exactly what they're responding to. It was the kind of raw, unguarded moment that reminds viewers they're watching something alive rather than manufactured. Scorsese's decision to preserve the mistake speaks to his broader philosophy about filmmaking. Perfection can become sterile if pursued too rigidly, and the most authentic moments often arrive completely uninvited. By keeping the stumble in the final cut, he allowed a genuine human accident to enhance the emotional texture of the scene in ways that deliberate performance might never have achieved. It's a small detail in a sprawling film, but it carries outsized significance, a reminder that the best directors know when to let go of the plan and embrace what reality offers them, because those unscripted seconds often contain more truth than hours of careful rehearsal ever could. Number 20. Casting that nearly shifted the tone. Before the final ensemble fell into place, the production explored casting directions that would have created a fundamentally different film. Several high-profile actors were seriously considered for key roles, and had any of them signed on, the entire energy, chemistry, and emotional landscape of the picture would have shifted in ways that are fascinating to consider. Names that circulated during early development carried very different screen presences, performers known for intensity of a different flavor or charisma that would have pulled scenes in unexpected and potentially incompatible directions. The discussions weren't casual name-dropping. These were genuine considerations that reached advanced stages before ultimately falling through for various reasons. In each case, scheduling conflicts, creative differences, or simple directorial instinct led the production away from choices that might have looked impressive on paper, but would have disrupted the delicate tonal balance the film absolutely required to function. What makes this significant is how dependent the final product is on the specific chemistry between its three leads. The dynamic between Liotta, Pesci, and De Niro creates a triangle of charm, volatility, and quiet authority that defines every scene they share. Replacing any single element in that equation would have recalibrated everything. The humor, the menace, the shifting power dynamics that make each interaction feel unpredictable. The casting that almost happened serves as a fascinating reminder that great films aren't just about assembling great actors. They're about the right actors finding each other at exactly the right moment in their careers, when their individual energies align to create something none of them could have achieved alone. Number 21. Pacino's no changed everything. One of the most consequential decisions in the film's history was made by someone who never appeared in it. Al Pacino was approached for a key role, and his decision to pass on the project set off a chain reaction that fundamentally reshaped the entire casting landscape, and ultimately, the very identity of the finished film in ways no one could have predicted at the time. Had Pacino accepted, the gravitational pull of his screen presence would have altered every dynamic around him. His intensity operates on a specific frequency, one that commands immediate attention and reshapes the energy of any scene he enters. While that power is undeniable, it would have created a very different balance among the central characters, potentially overshadowing the quieter, more restrained performances that give the film its distinctive texture and rhythm. The ensemble dynamic that audiences now celebrate might never have existed in the same form. His absence opened the door for casting choices that prioritized ensemble chemistry rather than individual star power. The roles were filled with actors whose energies complemented rather than competed with each other, creating a dynamic where no single performance dominates at the expense of the whole. It's a compelling example of how a film can be defined as much by who isn't in it as by who is. Pacino's refusal, whether driven by scheduling or creative instinct, inadvertently gave the production the freedom to build something more balanced, more cohesive, and ultimately more enduring. A powerful reminder that the best casting decisions aren't always the ones that result in a yes, but rather the ones that clear the path for something unexpected to take shape. Number 22. Liotta earned the role off-screen. Landing the lead in a Scorsese production isn't something that happens through a standard audition process. For Ray Liotta, getting the part of Henry Hill required a campaign of persistence that mirrored the very character he wanted to play, someone who refused to take no for an answer, and who understood that access is earned through relentless, unwavering determination rather than patient waiting. Liotta pursued Scorsese with a tenacity that went well beyond professional courtesy. He made repeated calls, actively sought out meetings through every available channel, and made his interest absolutely impossible to ignore at a time when the director was seriously considering other established actors for the role. It wasn't aggressive in a disrespectful way. It was the kind of focused, unwavering pursuit that signaled genuine commitment rather than mere ambition. Liotta understood instinctively that the role required someone who could project both charm and desperation, and his off-screen behavior demonstrated exactly that rare combination. The parallel between actor and character is almost too perfect. Henry Hill spent his life inserting himself into rooms where he wasn't initially welcome, using charisma and sheer persistence to create opportunities that weren't offered to him. Liotta did precisely the same to win the role, and that remarkable alignment between performer and character is a significant part of what makes his portrayal feel so organic and lived in. Scorsese eventually recognized that the man chasing the part was already embodying it in every interaction, and that realization made the casting decision almost inevitable, as though the role had been quietly choosing its own actor long before anyone officially made the call. Number 23. When Real Criminals auditioned. The casting process for this film attracted an unusual category of hopefuls, individuals whose understanding of the criminal world didn't come from research or method acting, but from direct, first-hand personal experience. actual figures with ties to organized crime showed up to audition, believing their real-life credentials and intimate knowledge of that world made them natural fits for the roles being cast. The results were a fascinating mix of authenticity and limitation. These individuals carried themselves with a physicality and quiet confidence that trained actors spend years trying to replicate with varying degrees of success. Their gestures, speech patterns, and body language were effortlessly genuine, the product of a lifetime spent in environments most performers can only study from a safe distance. However, translating that undeniable natural presence into the specific demands of structured, disciplined film proved to be an entirely different challenge altogether. What these auditions ultimately contributed went beyond any individual casting decision. They gave the production team an invaluable reference point for what real criminal behavior